Have no fear. The man with no fear is back. Daredevil Season 3 delivers. It's been 2.5 years since the last season of Daredevil, and about a year since the very lackluster Defenders series. And where we last left off with Matt Murdock, he was dead. He was trapped under a collapsed building, and he lost the love of his life, Elektra. At the end of the Defenders series, we see Daredevil taken into custody by a bunch of nuns, and we're not really sure what happened to him. Did he survive? Is he still the same Matt Murdock? Well, it turned out Matt went to his church for help. He went to the priest that he's been talking to in the past few seasons, and also to a couple of the nuns. And this is a very interesting story point throughout the entire series, dealing with Matt and religious aspects. Daredevil as a whole has been dealing with this, and it's really neat to see the intricacies of Matt's thought process. When we catch up with Matt, he says that Matt Murdock is dead. He died under that building, but Daredevil is still alive. Whether it's in the daylight or nighttime, Daredevil is the one who's still living. But he's dealing with a lot of pain, physically and emotionally, from the collapse at Midland Circle. And he's not the only one dealing with pain. His friends, Foggy and Karen Page, are both back, and they have to deal with things themselves. We have to wonder why, at the beginning of this season, why Matt hasn't told Karen and Foggy about any of this, that he's still alive. And we've seen those struggles in the past, especially with Foggy getting upset at his lies. And those story notes continue into this season. There are other new characters introduced, such as Agent Nadeem and Agent Poindexter, who are both in the FBI. When Nadeem was first introduced, I'm not going to lie, it took me out of it a little bit. I thought that this was a whole different show. I thought Netflix had switched off. I mostly wondered that because I wasn't sure why his story was being told just in his point of view. It was strange. And we see why the showrunners decided to focus on this agent at the beginning. The other big returning character this season is Wilson Fisk, and Vincent D'Onofrio plays him perfectly. The villain is so compelling. He is one of the best villains, not only on Marvel's Netflix shows, and not even only in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, but in any comic book show or movie ever. This season is a bit of a mystery. We wonder, what is Wilson Fisk planning from his prison cell? We saw a little bit of that last season whenever the Punisher and Matt both visited him in his prison cell. But his plan's a lot more elaborate this year. In order to sweep out more criminals and crime in New York, the FBI decides to release Wilson Fisk. This causes mayhem in the city. Of course, he's under house arrest in a $1 million apartment, but he's helping the FBI. One of my favorite things this season is diving into the individuality of each and every character. Every single story, whether it's Matt's or Karen's or Foggy's, even Agent Poindexter's, are deeply rooted into the overall series, and more importantly, Wilson Fisk's overall plan. In particular, my favorite storyline deals with Matt and his struggles with the religious aspects. We've seen him turn to God every single season, every single night whenever he fought crime, because he thinks he's doing the right thing. But after struggling so much, he starts to question the importance of that. And his priest, and more importantly, the sister Maggie at the church, the nun, helps him to understand why those are so important. And that's a storyline that's carried throughout the entire season, even up until the final episode. And of course the characters are great, but what's even better are the fight scenes. There's one scene in particular that tracks a prison riot, a fight scene, for 10 minutes straight on one shot. That's unbelievable that this show is able to do that. That's why Netflix is so great and lends itself to these type of things. But more importantly, it's what this series has done great since the beginning. We all remember the hallway fight scene in season 1 whenever Daredevil was smashing criminals into the ground. This is that on steroids. Fisk is ready at every turn. He knows what all of these characters are thinking. And yes, every time somebody asks him a question, he has to go, "When I was a boy," and go into a long monologue. However, those monologues are important to his character and what he's all about. Yes, in my mind, Fisk had some conveniences, and there were some unnecessary stories. One in particular, Karen had an entire episode all about her backstory, her origin, if you will. It was a great episode. I really enjoyed it, but for the plot, wasn't really necessary. And that's kind of why 13 episodes may be a little bit too much for these shows. Now, I'll say the beginning episodes were a little bit slow paced, but they really pick up. This season probably could have been 12 episodes, and I would have been okay with it, maybe even 11. Going any less than that, you would have got a lot less story, but overall, I really enjoyed this season. After average at best second seasons of Jessica Jones, Luke Cage, and Iron Fist, Daredevil Season 3 is the best season since The Punisher. It may even be one of the best seasons ever of the Marvel Netflix series, and that's saying a lot since I really enjoyed Daredevil Season 1 and The Punisher. So, what would I rate this season? To me, it's a no-brainer. Daredevil Season 3 is extra buttery. Go ahead, jump onto Netflix and start binging.